Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the part 2 of our DevOps series. Now if you are new to my channel, so just to announce that I already started a complete DevOps series and the part 1 already uploaded. And the part 1 is the prerequisite for part 2. So if you haven't watched the part 1, you have to first watch the part 1 and then you can come back to this part 2. Also you can see that I've already designed the future parts. So there will be part 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now before I will discuss any of the things that what are the things we are going to cover in this part 2 and what are the topics we are going to cover in the future parts, I have a very important announcement to make. And that is, if you have been following my channel for a while, you already know that I have been planning to launch a FullStack plus DevOps course. Okay, now before you will think that okay, this is another guy selling a course or a code at a crazy price, please give me 2 minutes and I will give you all the details that you need to know. See, the main idea behind this particular course is very simple, and I think it's very important to discuss this, right? Now see, right now if you want to learn properly, you usually have to buy separate courses. Means usually you go for any code courses, and if you see if I'm giving a single lie, you can comment it down that okay, no, you are telling this this thing is not correct. For front end you have to pay at least 4 to 5,000 rupees, backend another 5,000, DevOps is easily 10,000 rupees, right? So that means if you combine all of these, at least 20,000 you have to pay. Now what I need to do, right? I usually don't like that at all, and I decided to break this pattern. Now what will happen, right? In this course, you're going to get each and everything in one place. So we're going to cover front end, backend and DevOps. And these will be at least 200 plus hours of course with real world projects, right? I've added all the details below. Now one very important point is that the launch date isn't finalized yet, so I'll share this one later, but I wanted to make sure that the people who will trust me from the day one will get the best deal possible. So that is the reason. The big news is you can see that already 637 people in waitlist. So what I decided, right, the first 10,000 people who join the waitlist will get at least 50% discount when the course will launch, 100% guaranteed, right? Also you can see that all the details I've added in the below. So what are the topics I'm going to cover, right, in the front end, in the back end, DevOps, also in the security plan. So if you are interested, what I'll do, right, I'll add this link in the description. You can go here. Please, one request, if you are interested, then only you should join, because see, whoever people will join, right, this actually depends. For example, let's see if 20,000 people join. So in that case what will happen, right, more people join means I will keep the price of that course less. I hope you're getting it, because from my side also I have to pay the prices for managing a lot of things, right? So if in case you are interested, then only you should join. Or else let's say you have some friends, they wanted to spend this money, whatever, I'll give the best deal as possible. I will not going to give the exact money, but you can decide that whatever you'll get best deal and the best course possible. So please go to this link. You have to join for free. That's it. Once the course will launch, you'll be getting the email with the coupon code and you can join in this particular course. So this is one very important announcement I wanted to make. Now let's go back and see in the part 2 what are the things we are going to cover. Now see, in the part 2 I kept each and everything very simple. So in the part 1 we already covered the GitHub, Git, environment management, Docker basics, CI/CD, AWS EC2 deployment, also Kubernetes basics. So in the part 2 we are going to cover we'll move from basic to little intermediate level. So we'll cover Docker volumes, okay, how you're going to persist data, right, backup and restore, Docker networks. Now here also one very important thing, you can see that I think I've added this container communication. So these will move to the next part, and you'll see that I will explain this one later when I'm going to covering this Docker networks part. Then also I'm going to cover the Docker registry, Jenkins basics, Jenkins Web UI walkthrough, creating jobs, pipeline, and then at the end we are going to cover each and everything in our MERN application. So this will be a practical course. So this will be in the part 2. So I kept this one little simple. Now from the part 3 you will see that there will be a lot of topics, right? So you can see if Docker networks, container to container communication will move to part 3. There will be Nginx, Kubernetes YML or declarative Kubernetes, applying on the MERN, and then some basic Kubernetes operations. Okay, so this will be in the part 3. Then in the part 4 there will be Ansible, configuration management, practical Ansible with Docker, Jenkins and Ansible integration, and Jenkins pipelines. This will be intermediate. All right. In the part 5, we are going to cover Terraform plus Ansible, Kubernetes Advanced, Ansible Advanced. Now there can be possible this can change, so sometimes I'll move this one to next part, but overall these all the topics we are going to cover. Also the vault and security. Then we have part 6. Part 6 will be mostly dedicated to monitoring, right? So it's very important, monitoring and logging. So we're going to cover Prometheus, Grafana, login, tracing and alerting. Okay, and in the part 7 there will be GitOps, but there are some other topics that I'm going to add, but that will be decided later. So these will be the overall all the parts. So in the part 2 we are going to cover Docker volumes, networks, registry, Jenkins basics, pipeline, and then applying all those concepts in our MERN application. So let's get started and good luck. Alright everyone, so let's get started. Alright, so in the intro part I already mentioned in overview that how many new parts or upcoming parts will be there in this DevOps series, and what are the topics that we'll be covering in this part 2. But let me give you some of the very detailed analysis that how we are going to learn and what are the things in detail. So in this one we'll be learning what is volumes in Docker, networks, right, how you're going to push images, pull images from Docker Hub, right. Then we'll move to one of the most important tools in DevOps, that is Jenkins. It's very important. Again, for Jenkins also we'll be covering only basics, and I'll give you the reason why. And then we'll be moving to configuration management, that is Ansible. Now previously I actually decided that I'm going to cover the Kubernetes, and if you notice that in the part 1 I already given basic overview of all the important tools that you need to know as a DevOps engineer, right? So we started with Git and GitHub, environment management, right? Then Docker Compose, CI, then AWS deployment, CD, and also the basics of Kubernetes. Then I thought keeping Kubernetes will be little tricky in this one, because what I decided in the part 3 and 4 I will be covering more of Kubernetes, the advanced and intermediate concepts. So that is the only reason I moved that Kubernetes from this part 2 to part 3. Now there are a lot of other tools. I think we already have some idea that I've discussed in the introductory part, that a lot of tools that are not yet covered. So those I'm going to cover in the upcoming parts. So that is the reason I've decided to keep each and every part short and simple to understand, so that you can catch up instead of covering each and everything in a single video. Also I've noticed so many people actually commented that while teaching actually I'm writing and creating the diagram in real time, and there is a reason. The reason is because, see, there will be a lot of beginners who will be watching this course, right, or video. It will be easier for them whenever I'll be typing and at the same time explaining, right? So that is the main reason. Second, in this part 2 there will be more concepts, so you have to have some patience. So if you are considering that only practical we are going to cover in this particular part 2 or in the next part, it's not going to like that, because see, DevOps means you need to know the concepts properly, then only you'll be able to apply practically, right? So these things I wanted to mention. So now let's get started. Also, okay, another thing, that is I'll be using the existing project that we have used for part 1, right? So it will be easy to understand, and if you're new to this video and you haven't watched the part 1, it's absolutely necessary or prerequisite to complete part 1 first, then you can come to part 2, or else it will be difficult for you to understand. So these all the things I wanted to explain. So now let's get started. Right now, if you notice in the first part, actually I've discussed how you can create Docker file, then what is Docker Compose, but we haven't discussed about persistence in Docker, what is Docker volumes. Before discussing all of this, we need to understand, let's take it a little slow, that why actually you need persistence and what is actually volume and why actually you need it. Now you consider, okay, let's write it here, right? So I'm going to take a sip and let's make the color as change all, and what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to change the background color to black. Okay, now first we need to understand that what is, see, container we've already discussed, right? But we need to understand that in DevOps the containers are actually disposable. Now what is mean by that? That means, let's say you create a container, then you remove the container, then I'm going to redeploy the container. Now what will happen? See, everything whatever you are having inside its file system, inside its file system will be removed or is gone, right? That means you can't persist the data. Now when I'm talking about a real world application, data persistence is the most important part, right? Let's say you're creating any website, right? Data is the most important part. You need to understand you need to have your customer data, how your customer is behaving, all these things, right? Now you consider that you are running your MongoDB, right, in a container without persistence, right? Without persistence. So what will happen? That means you add a few users to the database, you restart the container. So I'll restart the Mongo container, consider this is the name of that container. So I restart the Mongo container. What will happen? All of your data will vanish, right? And this will break your real world application immediately. So here we need to understand two concepts. One is stateless apps and one is stateful apps. Again, all these, each and every concepts are very important for your interview also. Now when I'm talking about stateless apps, now you consider a very simple example, front-end React app, right? So let's say you have a front-end React build, or let's say you have a Node.js backend build. So you can redeploy or kill those build anytime, right? Means they don't actually care about the past state or no stored data. But on the other side, you have stateful apps. I'll give you three most important example. First one is DB, then you can have file system, right? File storage, and then you have another important part is logs. Now consider you have an e-commerce application, and here you need to track your customer behavior, that okay, how many users are going to the cart page, how many users adding some product to the cart and going to the checkout page, and how many users at the end actually buying the product. So you need to have some log mechanism to understand all this, right? Based on that you can increase your marketing of your application or whatever. Now I'm just giving one example. It can be a normal logs, it can be debug logs, it can be error logs, it can be a lot of kind of logs. Now these logs you need to store someplace. Same goes with your file storage, and DB I don't have to explain, right? DB is the main database where you will be having all your system information, all your data of your customers and a lot of other things. So these all will be considered as a stateful apps, right? So when I'm talking about stateful apps, here data persistence is the most valuable or important part. Now we have the concept of the Docker volume. So here you understand that why actually you need Docker volumes, right? So now we need to understand what is the concept of Docker volume or the basic definition. Now see, I'll give you a simple example. Docker volume. Okay, so if you go here, see, volumes are persistent data stores for containers that is managed by Docker, right? And you can create this volume blah blah with this that we are going to see, but I will give you a more simpler definition here. So you can say this is a storage mechanism, right? So this is a storage mechanism that lives important outside of container. So this will be outside of container, right? File system, but it can be mounted inside that container, right? So it can be mounted inside that container. Now if you consider this one, that means you don't have a like direct connection between your container and volume. And volume is storing or living in a different place, your container in a different place. So what you are doing, you are just simply mounting that volume data inside the container. That means what will happen if your container dies or you delete that container, your data will still be there in the volume. As simple as that, right? So here will be like container. So this will be container write data, right? And this will be stored in volume. Next, you remove the container, your volume still exists, right? Then one more important part, now I create a new container. So I'll do new container created, and here important part, I'll reattach the same volume with this new container, and I can still seize the old data. I hope this is clear. Means I have a container which is attached to volume A. I delete the A container, so A container is deleted. Consider my volume A data will still be there, so my volume A data is still there. I created a B container, so B container created. I reattached B container with what? The volume A, and then I can still see the same data, the old data. Awesome. So this is the flow, right? I hope this you can understand. Now if you want to explain this one in a more simpler way, what you can do, right? So let's do like this. So I'll just go here, tools. So let's consider this one as my host OS, and here what I'll do, right? So let's say this has a volume, and I'll give this one as, let's say, Mongo data, right? And remember, this is important, so this lives outside the container, and here this volume data is actually mounted in this container. So I'll give the container name as, let's say, Mongo, right? So that means this container and volume both are different, and here let's say this data is stored as data/db. That means this is what? This is mapped to Mongo data. Okay, that means even if you delete this container, this volume will still be present. Awesome. So now let's understand some of the important advantages of having volumes, right? Again, these all are important interview questions, you can note it down, or if you this is getting little boring, you can skip to the practical part, right? It's up to you. So one will be the persistence, right? Persistence means your data will always survive, right? Even if you are doing some restart, or let's say you're doing some redeployment. So one will be persistence. Second will be separations of concerns. So separation of concerns means your app is stateless. App is nothing but, let's say, your container, and your volume is having the state, right? Both are different. Then security. Why security? So security is like you are actually controlling what you are mounting, right? Fourth will be performance, right? So what will happen, right? These Docker volumes, these will often outperform bind mounts, especially on Mac and Windows. So you can see your improvement in the performance. And the fifth one is the most important. I think this is very easy to understand, or you can guess also, that is backup or restore. So backup and restore means, because your volume is actually living outside the container and always present the data, you can easy to snapshot or copy. That means you can always have your data back. You just have to take the snapshot from your volume and your data is still present there. Awesome. So now we know that why actually we need volumes, what is actually volumes, how actually it works, and then what are the advantages. So now let's see with example, right, how we are going to create. Okay, so for this you can see that currently I don't have any container images volumes here, right? So I deleted all of these, and let's open a command line. So first, to create, it's very simple. You just have to use docker volume. So this will be volume, and here what I'm going to do, I'll do create. Let's give this a name as maybe demo volume. Enter. So this will be created here. You can see that it's immediately created. So now what I'm going to do, simply, so I'll just check docker volume ls, driver is local, this is the volume name, and let's say you want to inspect this volume, right? So what you need to do, you just have to do docker volume inspect, and the name of the volume, which is demo volume. So I'll just give you a demo volume. Okay, so now what I'll do, right, so let's do a couple of steps. So first I'm going to start a Mongo container using this volume. That is the first step. I'm going to insert some sample data. I'm going to check the data. Then I'm going to stop and remove the container. Then I'll start a new container and we'll check that if the data is still present or not. Means I'll do this step here, this one. So let's say I start a new container with a named volume A, and this is my Mongo container. I delete the Mongo container, but my volume A data should be there because I'll be inserting some data here. Then I'll create a new container and I'll mount the same volume A data with the B container, and I want to see the existing old data here. And to do this, what we'll do, right, simply, so let's execute. So I'll just copy this one from here. So first let's copy this, and then first it's going to check if the Mongo image is available locally or not. For now it's not available, it's going to pull, and then we are going to start our operations. I'm going to hit enter. So let's wait for something. So I'll give you all the so first I'm going to execute this with Mongoose, right? I'll use this DB. So I'm going to get the name of the DB, I'm going to insert some data, I'll count some documents, I'll see if the data is present or not, then I'm going to quit. And then after that I'm going to, what I'll do, right, so let's we're going to remove that container, this demo Mongo that we are creating. So it's going to remove it, right? And then what I'm going to do, simply, so I'll verify the data if that data is present or not with the new container. Okay, so let's start a new container with demo Mongo 2. So demo Mongo is the first container, so I'll just go here. So let's see. So first I'll go to container. You can see that there is a demo Mongo is created, and if I go to images, so we have the Mongo official image that is pulled. And now what I'll go do, right, so first let's go here and let's copy this. Okay, so I'll do use test db. So let's see what I've given here. tsdb is fine, and then I'm going to just do all this. First I'm going to check the name, so again tsdb, then insert a new data. So it's inserted. Okay, then I'm going to count how many documents are there. So we have one document, and then I'm going to just see if the data is present or not. So I have one data here. Okay, then I'm going to do quit. Awesome. So now I have some data that is stored in my volume. Okay, and that volume is currently mounted to this container. Now what I'm going to do, so what we need to do, right, we need to actually stop and remove this container, this demo Mongo. This is the container name, right? So what I'll do, right, I'll go here and I'll do docker rm, right, and then I'm going to do -f, and then I'm going to give the name of the container, which is demo Mongo. So you can just verify again. So I'll do demo Mongo, enter. So it's now deleted. So that means that data is not there. Now what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to start a new container with a separate name, right? And here I'm going to using the same volume, the dummy demo volume that I have created. Okay, so so what I'm doing here, I'm actually creating a new container, and then I'm mounting these volume data, the old data, into the new container. So I'm going to copy this. Okay, so now this is actually created. So now we need to check if this is present or not. So what I'll do, right, simply, so let's copy this. We need to change one thing. No, sorry, go here. So this will be demo Mongo 2, because that is the container name. Okay, I'll do use test db, and then what I'll do, right, so let's say first I'm going to get the db name, and now let's see if I will do count documents, and I want to see what is happening here. See, there is one document that is already present. Awesome, right? So now if I just copy this and paste it here, what will happen? I'll be getting the existing data. So this is the important part. That means your volume data is still present, although you have deleted the container. I hope this is clear, right? So you have the A container or the demo Mongo container with the demo volume mounted. You deleted the demo Mongo container, and then you created a new container with demo Mongo 2, but you can see the data is still present. So data is persisted, right? It's very, very important concept, right? It's actually absolutely mandatory when you are working on very large scale application. That means this data is still present. So this is the whole idea of having volume, right? So now I think all the parts that I've covered, right? So first, why actually we need volume. So what is actually volume, how this is works, with some practical example. Now with this, the volume part is completed. Now let's move on to the next one. Alright, so in the previous section we have discussed in details that what is actually volume and then how persistent actually work in Docker. So now let's start with networks and also registry. Now before discussing anything, I just wanted to discuss one more very important point, and that is what I've decided, right? So networking and registry both are actually a vast topic, right? Although volume is also a vast topic, but what I'm going to do, right, I will divide this networking part into two parts. Okay, so one will be in this part 2 where we are going to discuss the first part, or you can consider as the basic part, and in the part 3 there will be more advanced level of concepts. So let's quickly discuss the roadmap first for this particular section. The reason is because it will be easy for you to track, right, when you'll be starting the part 3. So what I'll do, right, so let's create one more here. I'll just do, and then I'll create one here. All right, the first one will be, so see, first one will be, we will divide it into beginner friendly. Let's expand this one. So I'll do beginner friendly networking plus registry, and here in the part 3, so this will be in the part 2, and in part 3 we are going to do container to container networking, and we are going to discuss Nginx, right? So this is very important, right? What is Nginx, how reverse proxy works, and those kind of concepts. Now remember, in the first part also we haven't discussed this one, so that is the reason I will move this one to part 3, right? Now again, it will depend, it will be in the part 3 or part 4 based on whatever I will decide, but I just wanted to mention that there will be some concept which will be left. These things I'm going to cover in the upcoming parts. All right, so now coming to the first one. So in this one, what are the things we're going to discuss? So first we'll be discussing the basics of networking, right? The concept will be like how actually Docker creates network for us automatically, right? So we'll see some of the commands. Then I'm going to explain this networking concept with our MERN application, but for this one we are going to use localhost only, right? This is very important because see, networking is nothing but when you have two containers and containers can communicate with each other by their container names. So that is the main concept or advantages of using networking that we are going to discuss, but that part we'll be discussing later, right? So for example, I'll give you one example. Let's say you have a front-end container and you have a back-end container, right? So now what is happening, see, whenever you're calling your back-end API, we are doing like localhost 5000 blah blah, right? But when container to container networking or communication works, so instead of calling localhost, what we're going to do, right, we are going to call the DNS by the container name. So for example, front end will call the backend container, so it will be instead of localhost colon 5000, it will be backend colon 5000. I hope you are getting. I know this is little tricky if you are beginner, but that is the reason this Nginx will comes into picture. But this one we are going to do in the next part, right? So in the next part we are going to have networking deep dive, why localhost is not enough, right? And then we are going to discuss that what is Nginx. All right, and also I'm going to explain how we are going to integrate Nginx and container to container networking with our MERN application, but that will be in the future parts. I will not say part 3. I hope you will understand what I mean. So it will be either part 3 or it will be in future parts, right? Because these DevOps concepts, right, I will not say it's too attached, like it's independent, right? So we can cover this one later also. The main idea is that you need to complete all the parts. So part 1, complete part 1, then go to part 2, then part 3, part 4, part 5, like that. So this will be the main idea. Now let's start with networking, right? So first we'll start why actually networking matters, right? So let's start here. Again, we'll discuss very simple way, so it will be, I just don't want to keep this on overloaded. It will be difficult to understand. See what happened, right? So whenever we'll create any container, right, each container runs in its own namespace. So it's like a mini computer, right? So let's say you have 5 containers, so 5 containers is actually running inside a mini computer, right? Now out of the box, container can access the internet, right? So container can access the internet. I'm just giving example, but container can't talk to each other. This is important. Can't talk to each other. Each other means other containers, right? So this is means other containers. Now here, this is very, very important, right? So that means container cannot talk to each other unless you explicitly put them in the same network. So you have a container A and then you have a container B. There has to be some linkage between these, and that linkage is nothing but a network. So these two containers has to be in the same network or has to be in the same house. Then only they can communicate with each other, right? This is very important. So let's consider this one in our MERN application, right? So let's say you have a MERN app. Now your backend container. So let's say you have a backend container. Your backend container wants to connect to Mongo, right? Now, if these two containers are not in the same network, what will happen? Backend will never able to find the Mongo, right? So connection will be refused. So sometimes you'll see that whenever you're going to go to your localhost or any other, just accessing the website, you will see that that page will become unresponsive. That means either your backend or backend with database connection is actually getting refused. Now I'll give you one real world example, very simple one. Let's say you have a banking app. Consider this one as a banking app. Now you have a API servers, right? Banking app will have API servers, right? So API server talks to database over internal network. Very, very important. Very, very important, right? Because banking app has to be very secure, first of all. Now what will happen if the DB gets exposed? This is very, very deadly. What will happen if the DB means I'm talking about the database of that banking app. If that is gets exposed, what will happen? Hackers can easily bypass the API. Means they can have access to the data also. So that is the reason what we usually do, you keep the DB on a private network. So that means keep DB on a private network so that only backend can access it, right? So backend only can access DB, right? This is the best example you can consider. That means whenever you have a front and backend DB, you keep this one in a private or in a same network so that they can communicate with each other. Now there are different types of networks we have. So first one, we have a bridge network, right? You can also read all of this here also, right? There will be some. So this is the bridge network. This is the default. Then you have a host, none. If you don't give any, then we have user defined networks. These also we are going to see that how we are going to create network, but please go through here, right? It's not possible to explain each and everything, right? You also need to do some research. Come to the official documentation and do your research. So now let's go here. So we have a bridge network. So bridge network is actually, it is by default, right? That means whenever you create any container, every container that you create, if you don't specify any network, it will goes to the bridge. As simple as that. There has to be some network that Docker will handle, right? Now there will be another one that is called user defined network. Now not network, I'll say user defined bridge. Now this is actually recommended because here you have your own access, right? You create your own network, right? And the containers, whatever containers you're having inside that particular network, right, you can discover all the containers each other by name. So this is actually nothing but built-in DNS. So I'll give that example. Let's say you have a front-end container, okay, then you have a backend container, then you have a Mongo container, blah blah, and now front-end can talk to backend container by the backend name, backend can talk to Mongo container by the Mongo name, because this is the name. So by the name actually you are communicating with each and every container. Then you have the host network, then you have none. None means you are not defining any network at all. So now here I already explained that how this is work, right? So let's say you have a 3 container, you have a front end, backend, Mongo. Backend can talk to the Mongo. Here DNS, this Mongo is nothing but this is the DNS, right? So this actually the container name which actually acts as the DNS name. That means container names act as DNS names. I hope this is clear. So now this will be the, I will say like very basic overview what is actually network. Now here one important point I have discussed, I'm not sure if you guys have taken notes or not, that is important in interview, that why actually we need network. Now this is actually important because there has to be a very huge important reason that you actually need to define. If you see, right, you have any large application, you'll see that most of the times we will be creating a user defined networks, right? So that means our user defined bridge, we have our own control and we know that how many containers we have inside that particular network so that they can communicate with each other. So this will be the basic definition. Now let's see how we are going to create, right? Now before that, I'll just simply show you my Docker. Once I removed everything, volumes, images, container, and everything is clean for now. So now let's open a command line and let's do one thing, right? So let's create a simple network. First I will give you that how many network I have. So I'll do docker network ls. So here you can see that there will be some networks that I already have. I think some Minikube, there is none, there is breeze, there is host. This host is nothing but your network, host network, right? So these 4 I have. Now let's say I want to create a new network. Okay, so let's create a new network. So I'll do docker and I'll do network, and here I'll give the create, and let's give a name. I'll give this one as MERN net. Net means network, whatever you can give, it's up to you. And let's create, and that's it. So now if I just check this, you'll see that there will be one more network is created. So this is the network. Okay, MERN net. As simple as that. You can also inspect this network. Inspect means this will give you the details, subway, gateway, etc. So for example, let's say I want to inspect this newly created network. So I'll do docker network and let's give a inspect. I think it's inspect only, and then MERN net. Okay, and you can see that you will get name, this is the ID, this is created, this is local, driver is bridge, right, all the other information. And if you want to delete the network, you can simply just do, so first you need to do docker network ls. So we'll do right docker network. I'll not delete it, I'll just show you ls, and then you have to take this ID. So for example, let's say this, you want to delete this network, so copy this ID and you'll do docker network rm and then pass this ID, that's it, and it will delete it. Okay, so now let's delete only, let's see what is happening. And now if you do this one, you see you don't have that MERN net network. Okay, but now I'll create one second because I need it later. So let's create it, and now let's check again. So I have the MERN net network or MERN network. So now I think we have discussed the very basic things. Now again, I already mentioned that we will not go into much details because now we are going to see that how we will implement all of this in our MERN application. But before that, we need to understand one more concept, and that is registry. Now the reason why I'm explaining this one before going to the practical implementation, because both things, both the networking concept, volume concept and registry, all three will be applying in our MERN application. But before that, you need to understand what is actually registry and why registry matters, right? So let's create one more. Okay, so see, now I'll give you first, I always give the problem, right, that what will happen if we don't have registry, or the problem without registries. Now see, first of all, when you are creating an image, so let's say you created an image, where this image will be, where, so this will be in your laptop, right, in your local, in your laptop, as simple as that. Means it stays in your local, as simple as that, right? Local Docker images. What will happen if you have teammates, they want to access this? What will happen? Or let's say maybe you are working with Kubernetes, and Kubernetes usually have the clusters, right? And these Kubernetes clusters want to access this image, or they can't access it, right? Definitely they will not able to access this one, right? Because this cluster don't have that direct access to this local Docker image. Means we need to actually put it inside. I think this also we have discussed in the part 1. Remember, we have actually put all these images inside Minikube, means inside our cluster. So here the problem is, that means it is very difficult to share also, right? Now I'll give you a real world scenario. Let's say consider a team application, right? Let's say you're creating with your team members, you have some image and your other team members need that particular image, so they needs to pull it and they need to do some action. If there is no registry, means registry is like how I will explain. Let's say you have some store, right? Store means you have some store, whatever you can consider. Each and every thing, I will say, okay, consider this one as maybe, let's say you have a store of chocolate. So all chocolates are stored in this particular store, each and every chocolate, so that every user or other persons, they can go there and they can access that particular chocolate from that store. So registry is similar like that only, right? So you have like, or else I'll give you one more simple example. Okay, just I don't know how that one was relevant, but for simpler one will be, let's say you have GitHub, right? GitHub has all the public repositories. So each and everything is dumped in one place and then anyone can access until unless it's a public repository. That is a different concept. Here also we have that concept, but consider this one as a registry. So we'll do registry is a concept of a central repository. Give repo. Let's do repository for storing and distributing Docker images, right? And it's work like a GitHub code, right? But it's for container images. I hope this is clear. So how this will work, right? What will be the flow? So flow, I will explain this one in a very simple way as usual. So I'll just take maybe let's take this one now, taking too many squares. So let's say you have your dev machine, right? So you'll do docker build, something you'll do, and you have created one image. So let's say I'll do my app 0.1.0, this is the version, and here what I'll do, right, I'll do docker push. So this will be my docker push and this will store in my registry. So this registry can be, so this will be my registry. So this can be Docker Hub. Then you have also others. I think you have something related to GitHub. I'm not able to recollect. It's called GHCR. And then the main idea is actually same. So you'll just push all this in your registry. If you don't specify anything, it will actually, the default will be the Docker Hub. And here what will happen, from your other machine, you'll just simply do Docker pull. Just like we are pulling the images, right? So it will pull from that particular registry and then other machines can easily access this. So other machine or CI/CD or let's say Kubernetes, whatever. I'm just giving example. Basically just understand the flow, how it is working. So you have your code, local code, you just do docker push and this will go to that particular registry. You'll just do the pull from the registry and you'll be able to access it, as simple as that. That means if two people are working and pulling the same image with the same image tag, that is important, there will be a tag, then they get the exact same file system layers. So I'll just note it, it's actually very important. So that means, let's see, if two people are working, right? So if two people are working and they pull the same image, now here it is important, image tag. Now this is important, right? So you have to pull the same image tag, right? For example, let's say if you pull different tag, there might be some changes. So if this is the tag is same, so they get the exact same file system, also file system. Okay, so I think this is done. So now what we are going to do, right, we will now apply all of this in our application. So we'll apply volumes, networks will be very simple, and then I'll show that how we are going to push all of these changes in our Docker Hub, right, in repositories. Then we're going to pull it and then we'll see that if I'm able to run the application or not. Before that, if you don't have any account, just go to search for Docker Hub, just create a simple account and then you'll get a username, and this username is actually important. So this username we actually need. So this will be a prerequisite. If you don't have, please create it and then you start with the next section. Alright, so let's see how we are going to practically implement all the concepts that we've learned so far, especially the volumes, the basics of networking, and also how you're going to push the Docker images, and then we're going to pull it and we'll see how it will work, right? First of all, as I already mentioned, you have to create the Docker Hub account. So this is mandatory. And then next thing what you need to do, right, in the server side, now what we'll do, right, we are going to, because in the first part we used the MongoDB Atlas. Now for this one we're going to change, if you already have the env, so I already removed it, so change this one to local MongoDB. Okay, so here the first of all I'm going to give this one as 5000, and this I will give this one as MongoDB colon, and this will be the Mongo image name. Inside our container, this is the container, and then we have 27007, and then I'm going to give this one name as, let's say, task db. Okay, so this is the first thing, and then we are going to change our Docker Compose. So let's go to our Docker Compose, and here a couple of things we need to change this, right? So the first thing, so in the services, so I'll add one more service, so that will be my Mongo. Okay, now here the first thing what you're going to do simply, so first we need to give the image, right? So here I'm going to give this one as a image, and this will be my Mongo official image. So this will be Mongo colon 6.0. Okay, next I'll give the container name. So let's give the container name as Mongo, right? This is the same name that we have used. And here what I'll do, right, let's use a restart. So for restart I'll give this one as unless stopped. Okay, next, now this is the important part. We have learned that we need to add the volumes, right? So I'll add volumes, and in the volumes I'll give this one as, so let's give this one as Mongo, and this will be data, and I'll give this one colon data / db, and that's it. And then I'm also going to have a networks, right? So I'll give this one as networks, and here I'm going to give the network name as, let's give this one as MERN. I think we have already created this network, right? So we already have the MERN network. So if I show you here, this is the network, so the same one I'll use here. So this is the first change that we need. Now let's save this. So in the backend, so in the build what I'm going to do, right? So let's remove this from now. So after build I'm going to give a context, and I'll give this one as server container name, and also you need to give the Docker file, right? So here I'm going to just remove this. So here I'm going to give this one as Docker file. So this will be Docker file, right? So this is the name that you have given, Docker file. Awesome. After this we'll give this one as container name. So we'll give container name. Here I'm going to give this one as backend. Then also for restart I'll use the same, copy this. We already have here, let's do unless stopped. Then env file will be same, so we'll go to server and then go to env, and ports will keep this one. Now here some more changes we need to do. So the first one will be depends on, so this will depends on Mongo. This is very important. So here I'm going to give this one as Mongo, and then I'm also give here, so let's give a networks. So I'm going to give this one as MERN net. Alright, so next we have the front end. So front end build will be same, context will be from client. Then I'm going to give here the Docker file. So this will be Docker file. Then here args. So now this will change. So for this one I'm going to use the localhost. So I'll do localhost. In the second part we will see how we will do container to container communication with backend, right, with the container name. So this will be for now localhost. Container name will be front end. Let's change this one to unless stopped. Then ports I'll keep the same. This will depends on backend, important. And then I'm also going to give a network. This will be MERN net. Okay. Then what I'll do, I'll add a, let's add a volumes, right? So I'll add a volumes, and here I'm going to give this one as Mongo data, and also I'm going to add a networks, and I'm going to give this one as MERN, and then I'm going to also add a driver, and driver will be bridge. Okay, I think this is done. So now let's go through one by one. So I've added all the services. This is the first service, Mongo, which will pull the latest Mongo image. This is the container name. This is where the volume will be stored, and this is the network it will use. Same with backend. This is the build from which folder it will create. This is the Docker file for the context, container name, restart, which env file it will use, the port. It will depends on the Mongo, and this is the network it will use. For front end, this is again the build, context, Docker file. This is the args. Now this args is needed actually. Why? Because in our Docker file we are using this arg. Okay, and then again the same thing. Then we are using volumes and networks. Now what I'll do, right, I'll quickly check the formatting, because I always make mistakes in the formatting. So I'll quickly validate this one. If this is fine, then after that we will see all of this in action, that how we will test the volumes, right, and also how we are going to push the images to our registry. Then again we'll pull it, and then we'll see if it is working or not. Alright, so now let's see how this persistence and push pull with registry concept is working in action, right? So we'll practically implement all of this. So we already created the compose file, and then now what I'll do, right, simply, so first we'll start with, so we need to build it. So I'll do docker compose, and I'll do up build -d and enter. Awesome. So this is created. So now what I'll do docker ps. I have already discussed all these commands in the first part. So you can see that we have front end, back end, Mongo, and if I go here, we have all three. So now next thing, so now let's say I want to inspect our volume, and also I want to inspect the network. So I will do that. So first I'll do docker volume, and I'll do the ls. This is actually important. Why? You notice that this is actually appending some name with this Mongo data here, right? So this is the actual volume name here. So copy this, and if I just quickly show you, if you go here, right, you can see this is the volume Mongo data. So when you want to check it, you need to take the actual data. Now if I want to inspect, so I'll simply do docker, and I'll do volume inspect, and then I'll paste it, enter, and you can see that you'll be getting a mount point here also. This is where the data is getting stored, and the same thing you can do for your network also, right? So we'll do docker network, and you'll do inspect, and the network name, if I'm not wrong, it was this one, right? So docker network ls, this one, MERN net. So I'll do MERN net, enter. So we are getting the network here. Awesome. So now what we can do, right, simply, so let's go to our localhost, refresh this. Awesome. So you're getting the data. Now I'll do first data added, and I'll add this. I will copy and paste here. Let's make this one as 5000, enter, and you can see that we are having one data, which is correct. Now what I'll do, right, now you want to check if my persistence is actually working or not. So to do this, the first thing, I'm going to stop my backend container. So I'll do clear, I'll do docker compose, let's do stop backend, enter. Awesome. So if I'm not wrong, this will be stopped, correct. Now next thing, I'm going to remove this. So I'll do docker compose rm -f. So this will force, and then I'm going to give the name, which is backend, enter, and this will be removed, correct. Now this is the main idea, right, whatever you have learned so far. Now what I'm going to do, extremely important, I'm going to do docker compose up -d, and I'll do backend, okay, enter. So this is again started. If I go here, right, you can see that this is started. But if you just go here, what will happen if I refresh this page? Refresh this, see the data is still present. This is great, right? So refresh this here, see data is still there. Means I wanted to confirm that even if I deleted that container, again restarted the created the container, restarted, my data is still present. And this is fantastic. This is the idea that whatever things that we have learned so far, right? And see how I make this one very simple, right? Or these concepts are not that much easy to understand, right? You see now you're getting to, even if you now go here and try to experiment, delete this container again and again recreate, you see your data will still be there. So now with this you have understand that how the volume is working. Now networking, definitely I'm going to again repeat. This is not completed, right? This is not actually container to container communication. This is we're doing with localhost, means with our host to container, not container to container. In the next part, or part 3, part 4, part 5, whenever I'm going to go into much advanced level of Docker concepts, then I'm going to explain that how actually container to container communication works with the help of Nginx and reverse proxy. But with this is done. Now we'll move to another very important concept, and that is how we will build tag push images in our registry. Okay, and then what we're going to do, we're going to pull those from our registry and we'll see if it is working or not. Now before that, I'll do this. I'll clear this. And let's do one thing. First I'll do docker compose down. Okay, so we don't have for now. I think these two images, this is that one, right? Let's remove this for now. I'll keep this on clean. Now I'll go here. The first thing what I'll do, right, first I'm going to build my backend image. Now this part is very important. You have to do little slowly. I'll also do little slowly. So here I will do docker build. I'll give a tag and let's give this one as MERN backend local, and I need to give the context of, I need to go to the server directory, so I'll do /server. Okay, enter. So let's see how step by step this is actually working. Okay, so if I go here, you can see that this is created. Now the same thing we need to do for client side also, but there will be some changes. So let's do step by step only. So I'll do docker build, and I'm going to do -t, and here I'll do MERN frontend. I'll call it, make spelling mistake here, frontend, correct, local, and here context will be client because I need to go to the client folder, and here I'm going to give a build arg. So what will be my build? So this will be my wit_api_url, remember, and here I'm going to give http, and for now I'm using localhost :5000/API. okay, and hit enter. Awesome. So this is done. So now what will be the next step? See, all these steps I'll add in the notes in the website you can download for free. So now we need to add tag for Docker Hub. Because why? Because whenever you're going to push any images in our registry, Docker Hub requires the images to be tagged with your username /repository. So the format will be like this. So if I go here, right, I'll just quickly show you, maybe here. So it will be like this. So your username, and you'll give your repo, let's say repo here, and you'll give your version, something like that. But from where you'll be getting the username, that I already mentioned, that you'll be getting your username here. This is actually my username, Sangam2025. okay, here once you create the account, you'll be able to get it. So clear this. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to tag it, right? So I'll do docker tag. Remember you created two, right? So MERN backend, MERN frontend, local. So do MERN backend local. This will be my username, Sangam2025 / let's give MERN backend only D, and what we should give, let's give this one in the proper format. So 1.0.0. so this is actually my tag here that I'm giving, or the version name, not tag, this is the version name. Enter. And if you go here, right, you can see that this is actually created. The same you need to do for your front end also. Okay, so remove this front end, and also this will be front end, right, this also will be front end. Enter. So if you go here, so this is created. Awesome. Now what you're going to do, so you have tagged it, so you need to push it, but before pushing we need to do login. Now if you're doing for the first time, you need to actually do Docker login, and then it will ask for credentials. Also you can also do two-factor authentication. I need to check this part, maybe I'll add in the notes. Okay, I'm not exactly sure, but what you usually need to do here, right, you need to just do Docker login. For now I am actually already logged in long time back, so I'm not able to recollect. So if you do this one, right, you can see it's doing with existing credentials. So you need to do Docker logout, so it's already logged in. Once you log in, right, then we are going to push these images that we have just created, right, with the tag in our repository. To do this, it's very simple. So you have to do Docker push, and the name will be, so this will be Sangam 2025. Remember, MERN backend, and this is the tag. Same Sangam 2025 MERN frontend, this is the tag. So I'll do Docker push Sangam 2025 / MERN backend : 1.0.0 and enter. So it is pushing to this docker.io. This is the username, this is the repository. So let's wait for some time. Oh, I think it's taking a lot of time. Let's wait. I just don't want to push it so that you guys can check, right, what is happening here in the background. I think my net is slow, that's why it's taking time. If your net is fast, right, it won't be taking this much time. Not sure why. Okay, let's wait. Okay, I think this is done now, so let's refresh this. Okay, the same thing you need to do for your front end also. So I'll push the front end image. See, once we'll do this, right, what we need to do, we are going to delete all these local images. So this one also I'll delete, this also I'll delete, all four. Why, you might ask me? Because this is already present, but when I'm going to pull it, I need to somehow explain to all of you that how actually this is working, because I don't have a separate laptop, right, so that I can easily pull from that particular laptop. So I need to somehow simulate this experience here. So that is the reason I'll delete existing images so that I can test it properly. So again, this will take some time. So I think it's better to pause. Okay, so I'll pause this. I'll pause and then we'll see how much time it is taking. And once this is done, then we'll do for the next step. Okay, I think it's almost done. Okay, this is done. So now let's refresh this. Awesome. So now what I'll do, right, I'll just remove all the existing images. So let's delete the first local one, right? So I'll do docker remove, I'll do MERN backend :local, then I'll do MERN frontend :local. Then I'll do the same for the tagged one, right? So docker, so this will be with this. So I'll do Sangam 2025/MERN backend :1.0.0, and then I'll do Sangam 2025/MERN frontend :1.0.0. I think this is fine, right? Enter. Awesome. So I don't have. Now what I'll do, right, I'm going to pull these two images. Now remember, think that this is not, you are not pulling, but some of your teammates are pulling. So anyone can pull, right? So you already have the visibility public. So I'm just giving an example. So I'll go here and I'll simply do docker pull from my registry. So this will be Sangam 2025, and I'll do /MERN backend :1.0.0, right? Enter. So then I have this one as front end. Okay. Awesome. So now we'll see if my network is present or not. So I'll just simply do docker network create MERN net. I think this is already present. I just wanted to check. Okay, this already exists, which is okay. Now what I'm going to do, right, so now I need to run my Mongo with a named volume, right, so my DB data persists even I remove the container. So just now we have checked, right? So to do that, what I'll do docker run -d. I'll give this one as name. Let's give this one as demo Mongo, and here I'll give the network. So what will be my network? My network will be MERN net, right? This is the network that we have created. So I'll do MERN net, and here I'm going to give a volume, and let's give this one as Mongo data. This will be :/data/ so this will be DB, and I'm going to give this one as Mongo. This is the image 6.0. So you're doing docker run -name as demo Mongo. This is the network MERN net, and this is my volume, and this is the image, right? So now hit enter. Okay, this is done. Now if you don't have the image in local, right, so it is going to actually pull it, so it might be, it will take some time. So I think this is done. So now if I do docker ps, okay, I think this is fine. You can see here. So now what we're going to do, right, next we need to run the backend with the correct Mongo host, right, which is demo Mongo. So what I'm going to do, I'll simply do docker run. Now you need to write quite a few here, so I'll do -d. I'm going to give a name here. Let's give this one as demo backend. You can give any name you want. I want to give a network, so network will be our MERN net, correct? Then what I'm going to do, I'll give here my -e. So this will be my Mongo URI, sorry, Mongo URI, and this will be MongoDB : now remember, this is actually very, very important. This is the name of the container that you need to give, which is demo Mongo here. So this will be demo Mongo, and I'll give this on 27017, and here I'm going to give the task DB. Okay, and here I'm going to just map the port with 5000:5000. This all the concept I will discuss in the first part, and then I'm going to map my image, which is my image. So Sangam 2025/MERN backend then the tag, sorry, the version. So do docker run -d -m demo backend. This is the name, this is the network, then this is my env mongo URI mongodb. This is actually important. This is the name of that container which is using the Mongo official image. This is the mapping of port, and this is the image that I want to run. Now hit enter and it is created. Awesome. Now what I'm going to do, I need to do the same thing for what? For front end. So I need to run the front end container from the pulled image. So I'll do the same thing. So I'll do docker run -d, I'll do -name, I'll do demo front end. I'm going to give this one as network. So I'll do MERN net, and I'm going to map the port as 5173:5173, right? And then I'm going to give this one as Sangam 2025 / what I need to do. I need to do MERN front end, right? Because I'm running the front end one, and I need to give the version which is 1.0.0. Now again, this is nothing but these two images that we have created. That's it. Enter, and this is done. So now what you can do, simply do docker ps. So you have all three are running. Now just go to our localhost, refresh this. Awesome. That's it. And you can see that what you have done right now, this is actually these images that, sorry, these containers that you are running, and that container is created from that image. That image is actually coming from your repository. This is important. This is not your local image. You had created the local image. You push the images to repository. We pull the images from repository, and then based on that we created the containers. That means what I wanted to explain here, that now these images is actually it's stored as a central repository where anyone can pull it and then they can do the operation. I hope you are getting. So this is another very, very important concept. So I know that we have almost, I think, 1 hour completed, but within this 1 hour, I think we have learned a lot of things. Again, networking, I will not say it's completed, because I will say it's like very little we have completed. Next part there will be more concepts, but still volumes, networking, and this registry, it's very, very interesting, important and interesting concepts also, right? So I like this registry concepts a lot. What I'll suggest, right, with this you have completed the first section. You have to practice a lot, right? You have to experiment, then only you will be able to understand. Now some of you actually commented that whether you are able to remember all these commands or not. See, I'll say, like, obviously no. I'll be very honest. See, no one can remember all these commands, but see what happened, right? I actually know that how in the background how the things are working. So that is very, very important. I can easily say that, yeah, I can remember all these things. Absolutely no. So I can go to, and it's not a bad thing, right? You can go to the official documentation, you can search always, you can go to Stack Overflow, but you need to understand that how this is working. What is the concept of container? Why we need volumes? Why we need network? If you don't know and then blindly you are memorizing all the commands, it's not going to help you. So what I need you to, again, I repeat the same thing, don't go directly to ChatGPT or some AI tools. First go to official documentation, go to some blogs, read it, try it, and then make use of ChatGPT. And then you do this process multiple times, multiple days, and see how you'll be able to do all of this. You can even teach to other people also. So with this we have completed the first part. Now let's move on to the next one. So in the next one we are going to start with another very, very important tool, that is Jenkins. But again, we'll cover only the basic part for this particular part too. Again, in the next part we are going to cover the Jenkins intermediate. So if you see the flow, right, in the first part we have covered the Docker basics. In this part we have covered start with Docker intermediate. Okay, again in the next part we will cover Docker advanced. Similarly, in this part we are covering Jenkins basics. In the next part we are going to cover Jenkins intermediate, and then in the next part we will be covering Jenkins advanced. So it's similarly mapped like that. So now I think we have done a lot of talking. Now let's move on to the next one. Alright, so now we will start with Jenkins. Now see, Jenkins is one of the most important tool that you need to know, or that will comes under a DevOps lifecycle, right? It's very, very important. So as usual, what you're going to do, right? So we'll understand that what is the problem that actually Jenkins solves, what is Jenkins, key concepts, and then we'll see each and everything in action. Before that, I just wanted to show you my Docker desktop, and that is, you can see I just deleted everything. For now I don't have anything else, so I will start this one from scratch. Also, throughout the previous section, if I actually mentioned Ansible that I am going to cover in this part 2, so what I decided, right, instead of doing this one, I'll move Ansible and configuration management to the next part. I think there is a reason, and that one I'm going to explain in the next part when I will be covering part 3. Okay. And also, if as I'll be recording the intro part later, so you will also see the same information in the intro part. So I just wanted to mention this point. All right, so first let's start with Jenkins, right? So see, when I'm talking about Jenkins, so what is actually Jenkins? So first, like definition wise, it's simply an open source automation server. Now, what actually automation server does, or what is the problem that actually it is solving, that part we need to understand. So first let's understand from this MERN app point of view, because we are using our MERN application. See, what are the things that we are doing, right? So first of all, whenever we need to build, so let's say we need to clone our app from GitHub, right? Then we are doing simply run npm install, right, for both backend and front end. Then what are you doing? We are doing build docker images, and let's say we are push these images to Docker Hub that we have actually discussed in our registry now. And then let's say we are doing docker compose up, right? And then we are testing that if it is working or not. So all these processes we are actually doing now. But this is definitely what is the disadvantages. Now there is a huge possibility that some error can happen. It's time consuming and also it's inconsistent, right? So there has to be some automation flow which will take care of all this that I just mentioned just now, and that is the same thing that Jenkins resolves, right? So that means I hope you understand that what is actually Jenkins doing here. So when I'm talking about the definition, so let's understand very simple way, right? Because this part we are going to cover very basics, so that we'll move to the next part confidently. So see, Jenkins is a open source automation server. Now as usual, you can also go to the official doc and you can check all of this, but actually I've created all these notes from the official documentation only. So even if you don't go there, just read from the notes that I'll provide, it will be enough if you're a beginner. Again, if you want to explore more, always you have to go to the documentation, right? Because I can't cover each and everything that is mentioned in there. So what are the things that it will automate? Now all these points that I'm mentioning, these all are interview questions also, very important. So these automates, right? First, building apps. Now when I'm talking about the building apps, so these consist of, you are doing compile, you are doing test, you are doing, let's say, build your images, docker images, right? Then so this is the building apps. Then this will be your deploying apps, right? So deploying apps means you push images, right? Let's say you are running Ansible, I'm just giving example that we are going to cover in the next part, and let's say you want to start your containers, something like that. Also this is help us in running CI/CD pipelines, right? That means this will help us in CI/CD, already mentioned. So here mainly focus on these three things, that it will help us in building apps, compile, test, build images, deploying apps, push images, run your configuration management tools, for example Ansible, start containers, and it will help us in running CI/CD pipeline also, right? Now if you want to explain this Jenkins, so you consider Jenkins as your let's give this one as personal, okay, how we can give, okay, let's give personal DevOps robot, right? A robot means you tell that, okay, you do this and it will do exactly same way. That means you tell what to do and it will just do the same, and that means it run jobs exactly how you want to do, exactly the same way, maybe same way. Okay, so this will be the definition why we need Jenkins. I hope till this part this is clear. Now I will actually discuss some of the key concepts that you need to know before going into the practical part, or else it will be very difficult to understand. So first let's understand some of the key concepts. It's very important. Okay, so I'll just do here key Jenkins concepts. So first one will be job, right? So what is job? Now again, all this you can also search from here. Also you'll be getting each and everything in this. It's very well written. Now I'll say like well written, but you have to do more research, right? For example, let's say if you want to understand something, let's say installing, you have to go there, like how you want to install. I'm just giving an example that how I usually read this particular handbook. So here you have to go there, but if you're not able to understand, there might be possible that you're not able to understand some point. You have to do more research, or there is always ChatGPT or some other AI tools you can take help, but this is also properly mentioned here also, right? So first we'll start with job. Now what is job, right? So job is, you can say, is the basic unit of work in Jenkins, right? That means there can be different types of jobs. I will show you each and everything step by step how you are going to create jobs. So it can be a simple jobs or simple task. So whenever, let's say you want to run a very simple task, in that case what we'll do, right, we'll create a freestyle job. So whenever we'll create a freestyle job, that means that's a simple task. So it can be a simple task which we call as freestyle job. Now definitely simple job will not do each and everything, right? So you need to have something else. So that is called as pipeline job. So pipeline job is like whenever you have some, for example, you have to build your MERN application. Consider that only based. So you have a lot of steps, right? So in using simple task or freestyle job, you can't achieve that. So in that case, you need to have a pipeline job, which you can consider as a scripted, right? So you have mentioned all the steps and it will follow the each and every step and it will do the job for you, right? Example for this one I already mentioned, that you can consider as building your MERN application. Now again, some of you are actually thinking that why I'm spending a lot of time in this concept. Very important. I can't directly jump into the practical, right? It will be very difficult to understand. The reason why I'm mentioning all of this, because some of you actually comment that I took a lot of time in the explaining concepts and I'm writing all of this, but believe me, when you're learning DevOps, you need to understand concept. You can watch other YouTube videos, you see everyone will do the same. Concepts, flow and everything is very important. If you think that okay, now without concepts I can directly apply, try again, see, you will not be able to understand those things. So you have to understand why we need this and where actually it fits in DevOps. That is the very important. So it's like building MERN backend Docker image, right? This is a simple application that where I need a pipeline job instead of a freestyle job. So that means job is a basic unit of work. Whenever you need to do some work, you need to have some job. It can be a freestyle job or it can be a pipeline job. Okay. Then, so one is the job. Next we have build. Right now, what is build? Build is whenever you will create a job. Let's say I created a job A. Now what I need to do, I need to execute this job, right? Then only it will work. So that means build is the execution of the job, of that job. Now it can be any job, right? It can be a freestyle job, it can be a pipeline job. You have to execute. So that means every time, very important, every time Jenkins runs a job, it's a build. As simple as it. It will be a build. So it's a build. Okay. Now there can be multiple numbers. So let's say you have a job A. Okay, I'll give this one. Now you okay, let's consider a very simple example. You have a GitHub repository. Okay, you want to pull the GitHub repo, you want to run a job. Every time you run this particular job, there will be build created. Why? Now let's say you first one start with build number 1, right? So it will be like this, number 1. Now let's say you push some more code changes. So whenever you add some changes, this build will definitely don't have these code changes, right? So you have to build again. I hope you're getting. So there will be another job, sorry, another build will be created. So it will be numbering. So build number 1, 2, 3 and 4 like that. So two things you have learned. One is job, one is build. Next is very important, pipeline, right? So what is pipeline? as I already mentioned it, pipeline is like scripted. Okay, let's forget that scripted. Let's give this one very simple example. It will be a series of stages and steps, right? And that will be defined in your code, and normally it will be in my Jenkins file. So this is the exact name I need to give. So in this file, just like you are creating Docker file, right? Remember Docker file we have created, or let's say when we created the GitHub CI file, remember all the structure. Similarly, whenever we will create a pipeline, we need to create that pipeline inside this Jenkins file, and inside these you'll be having the number of stages, number of steps, and it will follow the exact same steps how you are going to execute that particular job or the pipeline. Now here I'll give some very simple example of stages. So let's say you check out your repo, right? So check out GitHub repo, then you install dependency, then you do build Docker images, then you push images, and then you'll do deploy. Let's say you'll do deploy, something like that. Maybe we are using Ansible, right? Let's say you do deploy with Ansible. So all this will be a stages of that pipeline. So this is number one stage. First it will take the GitHub repo, it will install the dependency, it will build the Docker images, it is going to push the images, and then it's going to deploy. Okay, so how many we have learned? So job we have learned two types of jobs for now, freestyle and pipeline. Build we have learned that build is nothing but the execution of that job. Pipeline we have learned. Now what will be the next thing, right? So next will be node or agent. Now this is also extremely important. Now this is the main part or the machine where Jenkins will run the job. So this is the machine where Jenkins will runs the jobs. Extremely important. Okay, so this is the main agent, and you will understand when you are going to write the Jenkins file, right? And when we have the default, it is nothing but it is Jenkins master node. Okay, so this will be responsible for running all your pipelines or jobs, right? You can add multiple agents, but we are not going to cover, so for now you forget. So node and agent is the most important part here, where actually all the jobs will run. It's kind of a machine. Okay, and then we have what else is there? Okay, plugin also is there. So plugin is nothing but it's like a extension, right? So it will be extension that will add new features. Now you can install new dependencies or new extensions or new plugins that you can directly do, that I'm also going to show you, right? So for example, here one example will be, let's say you want to install the GitHub plugin, right, or Docker plugin, or let's say you want to install some pipeline related plugin, something like that. So all this will be plugin which will help us to, oh my god, see, this will be add, my bad. I know some of you will comment this one, I didn't notice that one. Okay, so this will be add. So extensions are nothing but that will add new features. It will be something like GitHub plugin or Docker plugin, right? What else we are having? Okay, another important thing, actually I forgot, I should have explained this one earlier, that is workspace. So what is workspace is very important. It is actually the folder where Jenkins will use to run the job. Now see, these things are very important if you are learning all of these things, right? So it is the temporary folder where Jenkins uses. So this is the workspace, means this is the place where it will run it, right? So it will use to run the job, right? Now what will happen? So what this workspace will contain, this will contain, let's say, your source code, right? Or let's say it can also have your build artifacts, but that one we will discuss later. For now, just focus that this will be a temporary folder where Jenkins will actually use this to run the job. Okay, then at the end we are having executor. So executor is, it's like a worker slot in Jenkins, right? This executor, if I want to explain very simple way, this actually determines how many jobs can run at once. Okay, so this, based on this, it is going to execute all those jobs. Now I will explain this one in much more simpler way. Let's say consider your Jenkins as your factory, your complete factory, right? You have a job. So job is nothing but you are doing building app, running your test, right? So it's like a single machine you are having in that factory, right? Pipeline is where you are doing sequence of machines, right? So you have all the steps that you have mentioned, means all the stages, right? All the stages in the pipeline. So it's like a assembly line, right? Where you have multiple sequence of multiple machines. Then you have build means that is the product that is actually coming from that assembly line, right? And then you have plugin. Let's say you want to add now some new functionality to that machine, so for that you need some new machines to the factory, and that new machines or extra machines will be considered as plugin, right? So, and okay, another thing, the node and agent. So node and agent is actually, we can consider how we can do. Okay, let's say you have some physical worker, right? So in your factory people will work, right? So that physical worker or the computer that running the machines, so that will be the agent here, right? So where it is actually running the jobs. So this will be the analogy, I will say, and very simple examples. Also, I hope please go through this part again, that key Jenkins concept. This is actually very important. So this we have learned. Now we are going to understand that how the flow actually works, right? Because we need to do quite a few things. So we need to understand how the flow works, what is the architecture. Then I'm going to explain the same architecture in the context of MERN application, so that we'll understand what is happening. And then what we're going to do, right, we'll move into the practical implementation, means we'll see how we're going to set up our Jenkins locally and then create jobs and everything. So let's move on to the next part. Alright, so now let's see how the flow works and the architecture, right, in details. So I'll just add one more here. Okay, the first one will be, so let's take this one in a simple way. So first step, so I have, okay, how to here. So let's say you are a developer. So I'm a developer, I am just push some code to GitHub. So this is the first step. Okay, next thing what will happen, right? Jenkins is going to detect this change. Now you might ask me how. Now here it can be with webhook. Okay, very important. I think this is actually recommended. This one we are going to cover in the Jenkins intermediate part. I think I've already checked the curriculum, also added in the YouTube community section also. So how it will work, right? So here GitHub is going to notify Jenkins, or in this part we will also see how we can do using polling, right? Polling means Jenkins is going to check or detect the changes periodically. Means let's say I'll give 5 minutes time, so every 5 minutes is going to check if there is any changes in the existing code, right? If there is any changes, so it's going to detect a new change, right? Whenever it will detect a new change, it's going to pull the code. Okay, Jenkins pulls the code, right? Now here another thing I wanted to mention, here when it will pull the code, it will again depend on the job type. So if it's a freestyle, let's say you have some simple shell commands, or if it is a pipeline, how it will do, you will be having a Jenkins file, right? So where you have all the scripted stages mentioned, I already explained this one. Once it is going to pull the code, next what will happen, it's going to execute the job, right? Oh sorry, I think I mentioned it will be opposite. First it's going to pull the code, my bad, then it is going to execute. So then it is going to execute, sorry. So first it will pull and then it's going to execute the job. I'll do execute the job, and here it will check if it is a freestyle job. So it can be normal, like let's say it can be a shell command, right? Or it can be a pipeline, right? So pipeline means where you're going to have the scripted stages, I'll say, right? All the steps which it will follow, and based on that, in that particular order, it's going to execute the job. Once the execution is done, then it's going to do what? It's going to run all the steps one by one, and then the build results will be stored. Now here also there are a lot of concepts are there. Let's say we can store all of result in artifacts, that also I'm going to show. Then we can download the reports, lot of things are there, but here just consider this will be stored in terms of, consider as build logs. It can be artifacts, right? It can be artifacts, or it can be normal status. Now here, when you have create artifacts or report, you can also download the report. That also I'm going to show you. Once this is done, each and every build is numbered, right? So this will be numbered, means I already mentioned it will be like build number 1, build number 2, to keep a track and so on. And then there can be, you can also send notification. Let's say normally what will happen, right? If you work in a company, you will see that they will be having some notification. So whenever the build will be completed, they will, I can guarantee this will be there, right? 99.99% this will be there. So Jenkins will notify either via email or Slack, if your company uses Slack, etc., right? If build fails or succeed, so you are going to get it. This is although optional, but most of the top level companies, they will manage these. Okay, so this is the simplest flow. So you push the code, Jenkins is going to detect it either via webhook or let's say via polling. It's going to pull the code, it's going to execute the code, right? And then it is execute all the stages that are mentioned in that pipeline. It's going to store the build result as form of logs. It can be artifacts, it can be status. Every build will be numbered, so it can be build number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah blah, and it will be based on how many times you're pushing the changes and building. And there can be notification mechanism also. Let's say once the build is succeeded or it is failed, you are going to notify the developers, right? So it will pass a notification via email, Slack, etc. Alright, so now I think this is done. So now let's understand simple diagram, so that I always create diagrams, right? In this part 1 also I've created, so let's create for this also, it will be easy. So what I'll do, right, simply just take, you have your developer push code. Next, what will happen, you have your GitHub repo. It is simple. Then what happened here in between, okay, in between here we have a so I'll just create one step, but it will be in between. So there will be a webhook or it can be polling, and based on that it is go to the Jenkins master node I mentioned, right? So you consider this one as master, which can be a web UI that I'm going to show you, or it can be a scheduler also, right? And then it is going to pass to the Jenkins agent, right? So let's say Jenkins agent 1, we have Jenkins agent I mentioned, right? The Jenkins master node, and then this node or agent is the main responsible to execute the pipeline or the job. So let's say Jenkins agent 1, which is going to run this particular build. So what it will do, not build the job, so it's going to runs all the build steps. I hope this is clear. So this will be the simplest flow or the architecture. Now if I talk about the MERN specific diagram, again it is very simple. You just push the code, take the GitHub push code to the GitHub repo, then it will Jenkins is going to get notified, right? We are going to use Docker, that also I will explain. Then we have the pipeline stages. So for example, checkout, install, we are going to check lint, test, we are going to push build the Docker images, and we'll then do Docker compose. Okay, that's it. So now we'll start with setting up Jenkins. Now for this one, what I've done, right, I already created some of the commands. I don't want to write all of these. Some of these are very big, like long, so it will take time, but I'm going to explain each and everything what we are doing here, and I'll add all of this in the notes, right? You can download it. First of all, we need to understand how we are going to setting up our Jenkins. So definitely we are going to use Docker. There are a lot of advantages, and I will say it's a big advantage, right? So first of all, it's isolation, means Jenkins will run on its own container. Okay, so it's very important. Then you can easily do updates, right? You just have to pull the new Jenkins image and all the updates will happen automatically, right? Persistence is, I think, see, we already discussed, right? Volume persistence, all the Jenkins data and everything will be stored in a Docker volume, right? So even the container is getting deleted, your data will always be there. So these things are there. So that is the reason it's always I will highly recommend to use Docker when you are using Jenkins. Means use Docker for your setting up the Jenkins, right? So now first let's start with installing, right? So first what we're going to do, we're going to pull our latest Jenkins image. So first let's go there and then Docker pull Jenkins. This is the image name, so I'm going to copy this and I'll open a command line and then hit enter. I'm going to pause this one. This will take some time. Alright, so this is done. So if I go here, right, let's go to images. So you can see that we have Jenkins here, right? So we don't have anything else now. So now what I will do, right, so we are going to run this container, and also while running we need to also mount our Docker socket. So you can see that what you are doing, you're doing docker run -d name Jenkins, and here this port is nothing but this is where the Jenkins Web UI application will be accessible. So in this port 8080, and this port is actually for Jenkins agents that we are going to discuss later, right? And this is where we are going to persist the Jenkins data, or it's like the volume. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this part here, and let's run it here only, right? And from anywhere we can run this one, enter. Okay, so this is done. So if I go to container, you can see that it's available now. So now what you're going to do, you need to do a couple of things, right? So first we need to install Docker. Okay, so you do Docker CLI inside the Jenkins container, right? So to do this one, first I'm going to copy this, and let's go here, enter. And first, next what you're going to do, we are going to install all the dependencies. So let's wait for some time. Okay, I think this is done. Then copy this, and then we'll do exit. After this, what I'll do, right, we're going to restart the Jenkins container. So I'll copy this. Awesome. And also you'll check now if the Docker is available or not. So we have the Docker version. Now we'll check the container. Okay, it's there. Alright, so now we have installed the Docker, so let's install Docker Compose also, right? So we also need Docker Compose. So let's copy from here. Let's first go into this, and then we'll copy this. Then we'll just install the curl if it is missing. Awesome. And then we are going to download the binary, right? So I'm going to copy this and we'll paste it here. Let's wait. Okay, it's done. So now after this we are going to make this one executable. So we'll copy this. Awesome. And then we are going to show the file and we'll check if it is available or not. Awesome. Alright, so I think this is done. So now what we need to do, so that means we have now the Jenkins local setup is now ready. Now if you see what will happen, right, if I just go to the, let's go to container, and you'll see show all ports, and you see I want to go to localhost 8080. So let's go there and we'll see what is happening. Awesome. Now you notice one thing is that we need to actually have a administrator password, and to get this one, because we're using Docker, so what we need to do, right, I also have actually noted down. So I'm going to use this to get the password. So I'll go here, let's exit, and then just paste it. So this will give you a password here. You don't have to worry, I'm going to add all the commands with comments in the notes, so you can easily download, and you just have to paste it here. Let's click on continue. It will ask for install the plugins, so I will highly recommend you do install suggested plugins. This will take some time, so if I just click here, you'll see that how many plugins it's going to install. You can see there will be workspace, pipeline, git, email extension, SSH build agents, the dark theme, credentials building, Gradle, and a lot of other things. So I'm going to pause this one because this is This usually takes some time, and then I'm going to start. Alright everyone, so once this is done, right, so you'll be landing in this page. So you need to create admin user, so don't skip. I will highly recommend you create your own admin user. I'll just give this one as admin. I'll give the password as admin. I'll give the password, confirm password admin. I'll give my full name, and let's give my email address, right? Okay, click on save and continue. Keep this one same and save and finish. Now what will happen, right? This is ready, and let's start using Jenkins, and you'll be landing to the main dashboard page. Now here, this is the main dashboard. Alright, now a lot of things will happen here, but you need to understand each and everything what is happening. First of all, we'll focus on couple of things. In the next part, when we'll go into intermediate and advanced concepts, we'll be learning a lot of other things. But let me give you some of the very basic overview, right? The first, we have a new item. So what this new item is to help you to create a new job. So it can be a freestyle job, it can be a pipeline, or if this can be multi-configuration projects also, a lot of other things, right? So this will be new item. This is where you are going to see the build history. So as the name suggests, this is where you are going to see the queue, all the build that are already running or in the queue, and this is where you are going to see the executor status. Now on the right side, this is search, and if this is just your menu, so if I go here, right, so you'll see your account appearance and a lot of other things. I just don't want to explain all of this. Go to these settings, and here you'll be seeing a lot of things. First of all, this is system tools plugins. So plugins is here where actually you have all the already installed plugins, or let's say you want to install a new plugin. So if I click here, you can see that you'll be seeing updates, available plugins. So these plugins, remember we have already installed all these plugins just now, and sorry, my bad, this is available plugins. This is all the plugins that are available, and this is where we have all the installed plugins that we have already installed. Okay, now there are some advanced settings and progress and blah blah everything, like whatever else is there. Now again, the reason why I'm doing skipping all of this, as if you're doing for the first time, just don't focus on each and everything. What will happen, right, it will go over your head and it will make things complicated. So just focus on the things that I'm telling. This is appearance, right? One important point that you need to understand, that is the nodes. Okay, this is actually where you will be able to see the nodes. Remember what is nodes? So nodes is nothing but the agents. So this is where everything this Jenkins will run, right? So you can see that you have a built-in node. You can also create a new node here. Then you have clouds, credentials. So credentials is where you are going to store the secrets, right? So you don't want to hard code your secrets in Jenkins files, so you can store here, right? So then you have security, users, and a lot of other things. You can just experiment, but for now I will tell you to focus on these plugins, nodes, systems, and go to dashboard and just see new item, build history, build queue, and build executor status. More than enough. Okay, so now what you're going to do, right? Remember, while discussing jobs, I mentioned that we have two types of jobs, right? We have a freestyle job and a pipeline job. So now what we will do, simply we'll start with our first freestyle job. So how we are going to do that? So first we'll go to new item, and then I'm going to do here create a first job. So how you're going to do? Okay, I think someone is there. Let me pause this. Sorry for the noise, I just got a call. Okay, all right, so let's say how we're going to create a freestyle project, right? So let's give a name here. So I'm going to give this one as first job. You can give any name you want, and then I'm going to select on this freestyle project and just do OK. Once we'll do that, right, you'll be going to this configure page. So this is where you're going to see all the configuration and all the details related to that particular job, right? So if you just go here, right, you can go to this job, and then you're going to have the status, changes, workspace. This is from where you can build it. Configure, this is where we are going to configure this particular job. We can delete this project, rename, and credentials for this particular job. Now for now, just focus on configure and see what is happening here. The first thing, we need to give a description. So first I'm going to give this one as first job description, and we will do nothing else. We just for now ignore each and everything here. Okay, just go to source code management, also give none, and here what I'm going to do, right, simply go to down, go to this build step, and here I just simply going to add a cell command. So I want to execute a cell, that's it. And here I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to give a command. So let's give this on an echo, and maybe what I'll do, so I'll do hello hello Jenkins, this is my first job, that's it. And now what you need to do, right, for post build action also ignore. So what we have done so far, we added a description, that's it. And then we scroll down, we didn't do anything else. We just in the build step we add a step, because remember we need to add steps, and based on that steps Jenkins will follow, and then it's going to execute the job. So we added a execute cell build step, and then we added this cell command, and then we're going to save. Once this is saved, this is not yet done. Why? Because your job is now configured but it's not built yet. So to build it, what you're going to do, simply just need to click on this build now. So just click here. Once you'll do that, there will be a build that will be in the queue, right? Because now it's only one build, so it will be very fast. So now I'm just going to do build now. So build is scheduled, and you are going to see the build here. Okay, so you can see that's already completed. So just click here. Once you'll do that, now remember I already told you the name, build number, see everything I already see. This is the advantage of learning the concepts before and then applying, right? Now see, this is the first number, so this is the build number 1. So you can see the date, who started this build, and some details, right? This is where you're going to see the changes. Currently we don't have any changes, and this is where you're going to see the output. Output means, remember, you run a cell command, right? So you're going to see that output here. So if I go here, and you can see that what it is telling, that it's running as system. This is the workspace. Remember I mentioned that this is the workspace, is the place where, see, this is the folder where Jenkins uses to run the job, and this will contains the source code. So in this case our source code is nothing, it's just that cell command that you have created, right? So here you can see that we are getting echo hello Jenkins, this is my first job, and this is the output, and this is successful. So that means this job is now successful. So you can download it, copy it, or view as plain text, whatever you want to do. So this is a very simple job with that we have created. So you can go to home page now, and you can see that you are going to see in a table view, and here this is a job name, this is the build number, that is the last build which is success or not, last failure where it is failed, and this is how much duration, and this is, you can schedule a build for the first job. You can also go from here, you can also check from here directly console output. So you're going to the same route. So that means with this we have successfully created our first job. Now what we need to do, we need to understand that how we are going to create a job with parameters. So for now everything is static, remember, so we don't have any dynamic value. But let's say I want to have some kind of mechanism where I want to check whether this build is running for local, for dev, for stage, for Teflon, for prod, for pre-prod, blah blah. So we need to understand the environment. So that means this environment is a dynamic value, right? So we need to have some kind of mechanism where we can pass a build with parameters. So there has to be some parameters. So now we are going to create another build where we are going to have a parameter. So let's see how we are going to do that in the next part. Alright, so now let's see how we are going to create a build, job, not build. Job is different, build is different. Job with parameters. So you go here in the dashboard, try to experiment by yourself also. So try to do these things, it will be very easy, it's not that much difficult, right? So I'll do second job with parameters. Okay, select the freestyle project, click on OK. So you'll be in the configuration page. Now what we need to do, so I'm going to just give a second job with parameters. Now notice one option here, this project is parameterized, right? So that means here we can add our parameters, which is dynamic, very important. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to select here, and then I'll do add parameters. And remember we have different type of parameters that you want to handle: boolean, choice, credentials, file, multi-line. So I'll keep this one simple and just select string parameter. Here you need to give the name. So name, let's give this one maybe, let's say env, right? So we want to check which environment we are deploying this particular job, as simple as that. And I'll give this one as dev, and here I will give, let's say, dev. That's it, right? So now what we are going to do, right, simply That's it. So this is very simple. You can add multiple parameters also more here. But what I'll do, right, again I'll go here and I'll do execute cell, and let's give here echo, and I'm going to do this one, deploying to environment. And here what do we need to do, right, let's give this one, and then I'm going to give the name of the variable. Remember, this is the variable name that we have given, and this is the default value. So this name it will automatically ask whenever you're going to build it, and you're going to see that, right? Now this is done. So this is the build step. Now what I'm going to do, I'll do save. So once save is done, and just you will do build with parameters. Already it came here. Now click here. Now see. So it's asking for the parameters, right? So I'm going to change this one to prod instead of dev, and I'll do build. And let's see what is happening. So let's go here. It's already done. Go to console output, and you can see what is happening here. So deploying to environment, this is prod, and this is successful, right? So that means we understand how we can pass parameters, right? And also you can go here, you can see the new job here that we have created. So two things you have learned. First, how to create a basic freestyle job, how to create a job with parameters. Now let's see, let's consider this requirement that you have two jobs, okay? Job 1, job A, and job B. Consider job B you need to run only after running job A. That means job B is dependent on job A, right? So here I'll just do, so let's see where job A, which you need to run, sorry, job B only you need to run once you'll run the job A. So that means job B is dependent on job A. So this is called chaining jobs, right? So let's see how we are going to do that. So let's see, let's go here, let's do new item. I'm going to give this one as job A, right? Let's give like this, let's give job A freestyle project, okay? And what I'll do job A, something like that. And let's keep this one simple only. So I'll just go here, add new step, this one, and then I'll do echo, and what I'll do this is job A, as simple as that. Now what we're going to do, right, I'll just save this for now. I'll not do anything, but we have to do quite a few things here. Not quite a few things, just a minor change we need to do. So I'll just do save, done. Now I'll go here and let's create another job here. So I'll do job B, freestyle project, okay? So I'll do job B, and I'll do execute cell, I will do echo. This is job B, which runs after job A, and then do save. So now if I go here, right, we have a job A, job B, but this is not yet done because we need to have some kind of chaining so that it will understand that, okay, job B will run only after finishing job A. So how we'll do that? So for this one, go to job A, go to configure, and then you have to go to the end, and there will be a post build action. So here what you need to do, select here and you see one option, build other projects, very important. So select this, and then here you will get job such, and you'll see you're getting job B. So that means you're simply telling that after I will run this job A, I want to run job B. I hope this is clear. Now let's do save, and then I'm going to do build now and see what will happen. So I'll do build now. So let's go here, go to console output. See, we have, this is job A, and this already triggered a new build of job B. And if you go here, right, and go to this one, go to console output, this is job B which runs after job A. I hope this is clear. So that means we just chained both the jobs. Job B will only run after job A will run. So it's considered that, okay, you have some requirement, you have to run a first job. If that is successful, then only you are going to run the second job. If the second job is successful, then only you are going to run the third job. So it's like that. I hope this is clear. So now let's see one more last example, then we'll move to the some other example. So I'll go here, let's do another job here. So I'll do job with artifacts, and let's do this one as freestyle. Let's do okay, and I'll do job with artifacts. And here what you need to do, right, first let's go to build step, let's do execute cell, I'll do echo, and I'm going to do report generated at, so I'll give here date, and let's do something like, I'll give a name, I'll do report.txt. okay, so here I'm just telling that once this is successful, I'm going to create a report.txt file which will be stored in my artifacts, right? So we have echo report generated at, this is current date, and this is the file name. Now what I am going to do, right, I will go to add post build action, and here you can see you are having this archive the artifacts. Click here and you need to give the file name, which file you want to archive. So I'm going to give report.txt. That's it. And now you can save this, build it, and you can see that this is done, this is successful. Sorry, not here, we need to go to the status. So in the status you can see that you have build artifacts and this is the file, right? So here you can click here and you can give this one, you can also download with zip, right, this particular file. So with this we have learned quite a few things, that first how you can create a freestyle job with parameters, how you can chain multiple jobs, means you want to run one job after running another job, and then you can run job with artifacts, right? Now what I'll suggest, right, combine all these and create a job by yourself, then only you'll be able to understand all this, right? So this is how you need to understand these concepts. So that will be your homework. So with this is done. So now in the next part I'm going to show you that create a freestyle job, but this time instead of using cell command I'm going to use a GitHub Git repository, and let's see how we're going to do that. Alright everyone, so now let's see how we will use a repository to create a freestyle job. Okay, so let's go here and then I'm going to do job with git repo. So very simple. So we'll select this one, do OK, and then I'll give job with git repo, right? Then for now just ignore all this, select your git, and then I'm going to use this popular hello world repository. So still give here credentials will be none. Okay, and then I don't think you have to do anything else. Then what I'll do, right, simply, so this polling and everything I'm going to explain later when we'll implement with MERN application. So here I'm going to just add a cell command. So I just already created, I don't want to write, so just copy this to check if it is working or not, and then you'll just do save, and then you'll do build. That's it. So if you go here, right, so it's just read this readme file, and you can see it's doing all this steps. So it's run the cell command, right, it is reading the readme file content, it is rendering, and then finishing with success. So the main idea is not this one, the main idea is how we are creating a freestyle job with git repo, right? So you have to create the freestyle job instead of keeping this one instead of keeping this one here. So I'll just give some temp. So in this part you have to just make the change. So instead of doing none here, you have to select git, you have to give the repository, save, and then all the other configuration that we are going to see just now once we'll start with MERN application. So with this what we have done, right, with this we have covered actually most of the things, the basic freestyle things that you need to know. You can create a freestyle job with parameters, chaining, with git repo, building artifacts. Now what we'll do, right, we'll move to our pipeline concept. Okay, so pipeline means now what we're going to do, we're going to create a pipeline. In that pipeline we'll be having all the steps that are mentioned. We are going to push that change in our GitHub. Then what will happen, right, I'm going to have a polling mechanism in our Jenkins. Jenkins is going to check the code periodically for that particular time. Let's say if I give 5 minutes, after every 5 minutes it will check, and then it's going to build it, and we'll see how that is actually working. Now the best way is to implement using webhook, but that I'll move to next one, not this one, in this particular part. Okay, so now let's go there. So first what I'll do, right, so in the root I'm going to create the Jenkins file. Okay, so let's create the file here. So first I'm going to do here Jenkins, and this will be file. So now let's see what is happening here, right? So first I'm going to write each and everything, and we'll discuss. Okay, sorry, first we need to give pipeline, and here first we need to give a agent. Now I'm going to explain each and everything what is happening here. So now I'm going to give this one as Annie. After that I will specify the environment. So in the environment I'm going to have our images, Docker images for front end, Docker images for back end, then env for our server side. So server side we have port and Mongo URI, remember? So I'm going to give this one as front end, let's give image, and let's give this one as, let's do like MERN front end, and I will give Jenkins so that we can easily understand, right? Then I'll give a backend underscore image, and here I'm going to do this one as MERN backend colon Jenkins. Then I'm going to have a port environment, I'll give this one 5000, and then I'm going to have a Mongo URI. So this will be Mongo URI, and this will be equal to MongoDB. Now remember, this will be our container name, right? So what we need to do, we need to do Mongo. I think this part we have already discussed, 27017, and then let's give the task DB, same DB that we have used previously. So this will be our environment ask. So man, I'll always do these mistakes. So this we need to do in environment, inside environment, right? So we'll do environment. Okay, so this is done. I'll just format this one later. For now I'll just save this to explain. And then what we need to do, remember I explained multiple times that in a pipeline you'll be having stages. Stages is nothing but a multiple stages. So let's say you have 5 stages. Each and every stage will be a step, and Jenkins will follow that particular step, and by specifying that step you will be also able to understand that okay, this step is doing that. So let's see how this is working. So let's say I'm going to have a stages, and inside this I'm going to have my first stage. So in the first stage what I need to do, I explain all this clearly, that first Jenkins is going to check out your GitHub code, right? So it needs to understand that what is actually there in your code. So this will be my stage, and here I'm going to give this one as checkout code, and here what I'm going to do right now, inside this you have to give steps. So I'll do steps, and here I'm going to give a what is happening here, man? We don't know, something happened. I think I clicked some keys or something. Let's remove all of this. Okay, so this will have the steps, and inside step I'm going to have my git URL. So this will be my git URL. So what I need to give here, I need to give your git URL here. So give your git URL. Okay, so this will be your git URL. I hope this is clear. Here after this I'm going to give the branch. So my branch will be here. Let's say you have master, or it can be main. I'm going to change this one. I'm just explaining that what is happening. Okay, so you have to check this one. If you have master, you have to give master. If you're using main, you have to give main. All right, so this is my first step, and this is my first stage. All right, then I'm going to have my next stage. Sorry, this will be after this. So I'm going to have another stage. So what will be this next stage? So I'm going to prepare my env. So I'll do prepare env. Okay, and here what I'm going to do, I'm going to have my steps, and what are the things we need to do here? So first we are going to create a env file inside server directory, and there I'm going to use my port and my Mongo URI. Two things. This is from where it will pick. So from this environment it will pick this port and the Mongo URI. Okay, so I think I just written this one. Let me just check. Alright, so here let's copy these steps, and I'll just paste it here. Okay, so that's it. So after this particular stage we are going to have our next stage. So what will be our next stage? First it will check out the code, it is going to prepare the env, and then after that we are going to do what? We are going to build our Docker images. See, it is the same thing. And once the Docker images is built, then we are going to do what? We are going to run with our Docker compose. Alright, so now let's add our next stage. Oh my god, not here. Okay, so I'll do stage, and I'm going to give this one as build Docker images. So here what will happen, so I'll add steps, and these steps also. So let's say I'll give here sh, and here inside this I'll just add echo. Let's give like building let's do backend image, right? After this I'm just going to do Docker. Then what we need to do, we'll do build, right, -t. And now remember here what you're going to give the tag will be this backend image. This will pick from the environment. I hope this is clear. So here what I'll do, I'll give a dynamic because this will be the dynamic variable, and then from where it will pick, from our server directory. Remember, we have the code in the server directory. Very simple. Similarly, what we need to do, we need to do the same for building front-end image. So I'll do building front-end image, and here what I'm going to do, I'll do Docker build -t, right? And here I'm going to give the front-end image, and after this I'll go to the client directory. And then remember, very important, we need to use a build arg, because in our Docker file we are using this arg. Okay, so in the build arg I'm going to let me copy this. So the wait API URL will be what? So it will be equal to http localhost :5000/API. I hope this is clear. So this is my next step. So once this stage is done, so we'll move to the next stage. So next stage will be what? So we're going to run these images with Docker compose. And here I'm going to have steps. So let's do sh, and inside this I'm just going to do echo. So let's do like starting what will give starting MERN app with Docker compose. Sometime I'll be blank, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, and then what we're going to do is simply do Docker compose of -d, and then I'm just going to do echo, and I'll do show me or showing running containers, right? So running containers, and I'll do Docker ps. I think this I'm doing little fast because I've already explained multiple times. Then I'll just copy paste. After this I'll just log two things. I'm going to log the backend logs and the front end logs, and that's it. So this will be our overall Jenkins files. Now see, this is nothing but it's like a simple instruction. You are telling someone to do this, do that. Okay, so you have an agent, any agent you can pick. So I'll also explain you, let me explain this one in a simple way. So this is like this agent n is nothing but we are telling that you run this pipeline on any available Jenkins executor or node. Remember, at the end, node or agent is going to run your jobs. Okay, this is the simple. And here one thing is very important, this node must have Docker and Docker compose installed for this particular pipeline so that it will work. Then we are defining the environment. Then we have all the stages, and each and every stage will have a single stage. And for single stage, we are simply telling that do this checkout code, prepare the env, build the Docker images, and then run with Docker compose. As simple as that. So with this, I think this is done. So now what I'll do, right, simply I think I have this one ready with this name. I think this I need to change. So let me just copy from here. I can easily copy paste and then explain, right? But I thought it will be better if I just explain this one. Let me just copy the URL and then we'll start for the next part. Alright, so you can see that I just copy pasted the URL. Now let's do one thing. Let's push these changes. So I'll do push Jenkins file and let's commit push. Alright, so I think this is done. So now let's see what is happening. So I think we added these three. Now what we need to do, right? So let's go to our dashboard, and now what we will do, instead of creating a freestyle, now we need to create a pipeline. Okay, so I'm going to give this one as MERN DevOps app, and first we'll select pipeline, select OK, and then first let's give any description. Okay, so I'm going to give MERN DevOps pipeline. Here a couple of things we are going to do. So let's say I want to discard the old builds. Okay, so I want to keep, let's say, maybe max 10 builds. So we'll select this one, and then you can keep this one max, this many builds you want to keep. So I'll give 10. Also I want to do this one, so I want to select this do not allow concurrent builds. So what will happen, right? It will prevent two builds stepping on the same port or on the same workspace, you can consider. So I'll select this, right? What else? GitHub project. So let's copy this one. So let's go here. Okay, paste this. Then what else? I think this is fine. Now what we need to do, so in the triggers, right? So here this is actually recommended. So you can see that we have this GitHub hook trigger for Git SCM polling, but this I'm going to explain later. For now we are going to use this poll SCM. So what will happen, right? So this is going to check and set schedule. So for example, let's say if I want to give 5 minutes, so it is going to poll every 5 minutes. Now this you should only do if you're not doing with webhooks. Again, I'm going to repeat, webhooks is the recommended option here, but let's understand both, right? So in the first part we can understand this one, in the next upcoming parts we'll see how we are going to do with the webhooks. So I'm going to go here and I just written all this, I think, somewhere. So let's give this on, let's give 5 minutes only, not 2 minutes. So I'll give 5 here. So I think this is done. So now what we need to do, right? So this is where we need to do changes, right? So this is the most important part here. So first, in the pipeline, what you need to do, you need to give pipeline script from SCM, and here in the SCM you'll get the option as Git. So you need to select Git. So in the Git you'll be getting the repository URL. So just paste it here, or not this one, copy this and paste it here. Credentials currently I don't have because it is public repository. If it is private, that also we are going to cover in the next part, not this one. So I think this is done. So here I'm going to give this one as main, right? And because I'm using main here, then what else? Script path, this is important. So this is going to pick from the Jenkins file that we have created, right? This is the Jenkins files. Just keep it like that. And what else? In the advanced, let's go here. I don't think you have to do anything else. I think all these are done. So let's go through one by one. So I think we have kept this discard all builds, do not allow concurrent builds. GitHub projects, we added the URL. Then we are doing polling 5 minutes. Pipeline added Git repository URL, branch main, and that's it, I think. Now let's do save. And now let's do build, and we'll see what is happening, right? So let's go here. Let's go to output. Okay, so it's pulling the Mongo. I think Mongo I don't have. I think I've deleted by mistake. So I think it's doing okay. Let's see. Awesome. So I think this is working fine, right? Let's say I'm not sure, it can break. Whenever I'll do practice, right, it will be breaking 100 times and I'll be getting angry, but sometimes it will it will not break. Let's see what is happening. All right. Awesome. So now this is successful. Okay, so if I go here, right, you can see we have a MERN, this one created, container is created with Mongo backend and front end. If you go to images, we have the images that we have created. Also we have the volumes, right? So if you go to the containers, let's go to 5173 and see it's running. So now if I just add a new task, create task, and this is working fine. Awesome. So now we have successfully created this Jenkins file, successfully created the pipeline. This is perfectly working fine from the Git repo, right? Everything is working okay. Now here what will be your homework, right? So your homework will be push new code changes and see if it is picking the latest changes or not. As simple as that. It will work, but I wanted to experiment with that, right? So with this we have understood what is Docker volumes, Docker networks. Now remember, in the networks we haven't covered the container to container communication. I think I have mentioned multiple times. I think it's very important to discuss all of this, right? That what we have covered. So that is the reason in the next part, in the upcoming parts, it will be there. We also understand what is Docker registry, and then Jenkins I think I have covered pretty well, right? So if you're a beginner, I think I myself will say like I've covered very clearly. So I don't think you will have much query here, right? So it will clear some of the doubts. You'll be able to create basic pipeline. Anyway, in the next part we are going to cover a lot of advanced things. So with this we have covered this particular part 2 of this DevOps series. I kept this one intentionally short so that in the upcoming parts we are going to move to some intermediate level of concepts to advanced. So with this, that's all for this particular video. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, good luck and peace.